You know, a lot of people have commented to me through private messages or sometimes in the comments about how they appreciate that I keep my content very positive, and I try. I have my moments just like everybody else, but you know, let's talk about that today. How do you stay positive? How do you keep from getting too depressed or too anxious in this dystopian hellscape that we're living in? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Prepping with Sarge. I am out on a trail today, getting a little bit of, you know, brain relaxation in. Even as a therapist, I have to, actually, it's probably more important than most other professions that we take good care of ourselves. I get that question a lot, actually. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm a licensed therapist. I am licensed at the highest level possible in my state. I actually supervise younger, newer, well, not necessarily always younger, but newer therapists who are working towards their licensure, and been in the field for over 25 years. And get asked that question a lot. Like, you know, we hear a lot of stuff in the process of our work. Right now, I've worked with all different populations over the course of my career. Right now, I'm working a lot with first responders and their families. We get asked a lot, how do we manage, you know, to not get the vicarious traumatization? Now, if you're not familiar with that, vicarious traumatization is when you get your own trauma symptoms from hearing about somebody else's trauma. And it can happen, but we develop our own coping skills as part of our training. We're very good about supporting each other. And I'm going to share some of that stuff with you today about how we take care of each other, how we take care of ourselves. So of course, anything that I talk about is not replacement for therapy. If you're having any really bad anxiety or depression, especially if you're having like real bad depression, thoughts about hurting yourself or anything like that, please go see a therapist. There's nothing that I can do on here that's going to substitute for that, I promise you. But, sorry, I'm getting a little winded talking and walking, sometimes that happens. But, you know, I will give you some tips and tricks here to hopefully prevent it from getting to that point for you. So there's some basic things that every person can do to help mitigate the effects of depression. One of the big ones is trying to get outside every single day. That's why so much of my theme, so much of my content on Instagram and on YouTube is about, you know, encouraging you to get outside at least 30 minutes a day, sunshine, fresh air. That's big. Your brain needs that, believe it or not. We weren't made to live in a box. You know, we haven't evolved over thousands of years to sit in front of a computer or a PlayStation or an Xbox, or, you know, watching Netflix 12 hours a day, or programming or answering phones, or whatever you do for your work. I'm not knocking any of those things, believe me. I like to watch Netflix, play video games too, but you do have to get out. Your brain actually needs that. It's hardwired into our biochemistry that you need the sunshine, you need the fresh air. All right, so if you haven't been doing that for a long time, start slow, of course. Hydrate if it's hot, like it's hot right now in South Carolina. Whew, is it hot? That's one. Number two, and I'm gonna get to the bigger stuff at the end. I'm gonna give you my biggest tips at the end, so you're gonna wanna stay through this whole video. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. You can drop a like if you enjoy my content down below. I sure do appreciate that. And one of the best ways you can support this channel is, you know, let an ad run once in a while here and there. Really appreciate that. If you really like the content and you're feeling, you know, inspired to donate, you can also hit that super thanks down below. And you can also check my links in the description for some discount codes, things like that you might enjoy. And a lot of times those are affiliate links. I get a little bit of a help on that too, a little bit of a commission. Helps me create good content for you. All right, back to what we were talking about. All right, so getting outside. Exercise is number 2. You have to be exercising, and walking can count, gardening can count, okay? But you have to be basically working out to the point where you're getting a little bit of a sweat, your heart rate's coming up a little bit. Generates the good chemicals in your brain, the neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. That's the stuff that is basically like your body's natural antidepressants, natural anti-anxiety neurotransmitters. Next one is you want to make sure you're hydrating, drinking a lot of water, eating lots of fruits and vegetables. That will help you. Lots of fruits and vegetables will help you to have your brain chemistry functioning at peak capacity, the way that it's supposed to be, at peak efficiency. Right? It's really important that you be eating well, drinking lots of water. Next one. A little bit of art, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of, it doesn't have to be drawing or painting, but maybe you play a song. Maybe you like to do puzzles. Maybe you like to write poems. You know, something that activates that part of the brain, that creative, artistic part of the brain, will also help you to stave off the worst effects of depression and anxiety. Next one is socialization. You know, it's a good idea to really be trying to, every day for at least 20 minutes, especially for those of you who live alone, try to be engaging with somebody. Now, if you can't get out and have lunch with somebody or something like that, or meet them for a walk, that's okay. Those would be better if you could, but consider also, you know, online talking to people. Some of you are big gamers, you know, chat with your group online. That is some socialization, right? Call your friends. I'm always telling you, if you watch my live streams, I'm always telling you, call your mom. If your mom's alive, call your mom. Call somebody. You got to socialize. You can't be the lone wolf. That will, studies have shown that people really aren't meant to exist like that. It's a fantasy in the movies like I Am Legend and stuff like that. Mad Max. Can't really exist like that. In experiments and research, when people have tried that, they end up pretty severely depressed, and they actually end up developing psychotic symptoms after a while. All right, next one is for people of faith. Pray, right? And if you're not a person of faith, that's okay. I never try to push my faith on anybody. I respect all different faiths out there, and I respect people who are not of faith also. Maybe you consider nature and the cosmic accident, that's your faith. But praying for people of faith will help. And for people who are, you know, more not, you know, maybe you're agnostic or atheist or whatever, you know, then figure out a way that you can connect with something higher than yourself. That can be nature. Look where I am. And I am a person of faith, but I also believe in nature. I also believe in, you can be a person of faith and believe in evolution, things like that, right? They're not incongruent, at least not in my faith. So there's much out here where I am that's much grander than me. And when I come out here, it really helps to reset my mind, reset my brain chemistry. A lot of people that you might follow will talk about the brain chemistry and resetting the brain chemistry. A lot of the new research is looking into that. Is it possible to actually reset your neurochemistry? Well, I can tell you from anecdotally and from my experiences, this does it for me. And I have to do this frequently to keep resetting my brain chemistry. So the last part here is probably the hardest part for people, but it's the one that gives the most relief in the long term. And that's learning how to manage your thoughts, right? So we look around the world, and I was a child of the 70s and the 80s, you know, grew up in a time when we could play outside. It was safe to do that. We could, we rode our bikes till sunset. Mom would say, make sure you come home when the street lights come on. The world's so different than it was back then. And it's, you can, if you start dwelling on that, it can be pretty harsh. I know. So you have to manage those thoughts. And the reality is we're not going back. You know, Mayberry's gone. You know, I think that the peak, maybe I'm wrong, but to me it seems like the peak for our nation was end of the 90s, maybe up to September 11th. And then we entered this like alternate reality, you know, and it just seems like it's one tragic thing after another. So it's hard to stay positive. I get that, but you have to manage your thoughts. When we look at some channels out there, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Maybe it's a call to action more than calling somebody out anyways. Look at the different channels out there and you start to say, you know, some of them are putting people into panic with fear porn and stuff like that. Maybe we shouldn't be doing it that way as prepper channels. Maybe we should be trying to teach skills instead of just ranting, you know. I don't know how to say that. By the way, I really appreciate you. If you're still watching this to the end, you're an awesome person. I really appreciate you. And you matter. You really do. So managing our thoughts, and how do we do that? So we look at people, we have these channels talking about like a food shortage in the United States. Well, that could happen. Actually, I don't doubt that at some point it will happen, but we're not in a real food shortage right now, just baby formula. That's the only real food shortage that we have. I'm not trying to say don't prep, definitely prep. And food prepping should be part of your preps, but we're not in that piece of it yet. We're not in that part of the game yet. So there's no reason to create situations where your audience is panicking and going out and spending money that they don't have. They should be, number one, paying their mortgage and rent, because we're not in a situation yet where it's complete collapse. So when we look at those food shortages thing, one of the things that helps me is thinking about what other nations have dealt with for food shortages, real food shortages, something that we haven't seen in this country probably since at least World War II. My grandmother grew up in the Great Depression. She told me what real food shortages look like. Other nations have had that. We have not yet, okay? So gratitude, just being born in the United States is like hitting the lottery when you think about how so many other countries have it and how most people in the world have it. So a little bit of gratitude can definitely help you to get out of your own mental way. But the last piece here is reframing, right? So number one is cognitive thought stopping is what we call it, which is when you catch yourself thinking something really negative and you say, I got to knock that off. It's not good for me. If I keep thinking like that, it is going to make me depressed. If I keep thinking like that, it is going to make me anxious. So we literally tell ourselves to knock it off and then try to change it. So you can try to change it with a reframe. So one of the best reframes that I ever got was given to me by a friend. This was a few years ago, a fellow therapist. And I was really beat up about, you guys know I love nature, right? Pretty obvious. I was beat up about some stuff in climate reports and things like that. I was getting so angry, so mad, so sad. And she said, Sarge, you gotta calm down. She said, she was a person of faith too, and this helped me. She said, you're weeping for a world and you're trying to change a world that's already fallen. You can't do that. You can't fix this, Sarge. I know that sounds depressing, but the second part of that was, so what are you going to do about it then? Well, I'm going to use my time to help as many people as I can. My profession calls me to try to ease the suffering of others, and my YouTube and Instagram calls me to try to teach people how to prepare, because worse times are definitely ahead of us. We're not going back to Mayberry. We're not going back to the 1970s. We're not going back to the 1980s that I grew up with. I am so grateful that I had that great experience as a kid. So grateful that sacrifices that my parents made. So I had a good childhood. I was blessed. I get that. I know that I was blessed. Many people are not. But we're not going back. And tough times are ahead. Okay, so did I lose my trail here? No, I gotta keep going straight. So my reframe is, with my time, I'm going to help as many people as I can in therapy. And I'm going to, in my YouTube and my Instagram, I'm going to help people prepare for the tough times ahead. That's how I'm fighting this war. How are you fighting it? Comment down below, let me know. If you're watching this, you know I love you. I really appreciate my audience. More so than you could possibly imagine. I do this for a couple reasons. Number one, I've really enjoyed making videos. I wanted to learn that skill, and I'm getting better and better at it. Number two, I've enjoyed the friendships that I've made on this. Some of you know who I'm talking about. Some of you I communicate with in other means outside of YouTube. Number three, I really enjoy helping people learn new skills. I enjoy public speaking. I do that as kind of another thing that I do. I enjoy teaching. And number four, it's a little bit extra money. And not to downplay that, because a lot of people will say, it's bad for a YouTuber to want to make money. I don't think so. The money, all it does, is not a ton of money, believe me. But what it does is it allows me to put money back in and create more and keep this going. Because it takes a lot of time away from my family, and I have to be able to justify that. And I try to put most of that back to you all, either in stuff that I buy to make the videos better, or in the giveaways like you've seen recently. So I get a lot out of this too, and I appreciate you a lot. All right. That's all I got for you today. Comment down below. What are you doing to manage your thoughts and stay healthy? Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.